All right, so you're ready to dive into this stack of cleaning and restoration association materials.
I bet it feels a little like you're drowning in acronyms and bylaws.
I've been there. It's a lot. Don't worry, we're going to help you sort through it all and figure out what really matters.
We're not aiming to make you an expert on association bylaws, by the way.
No way.
Yeah.
This is about understanding the big picture, the benefits, the challenges, and how to choose an association that actually aligns with your needs.
So you can confidently navigate this world without getting bogged down in the details.
Exactly. So first things first, what's the deal with these associations? Why do they even exist?
Our sources seem pretty united on this one.
Yeah, they all seem to agree that it comes down to education and certification, advocating for the industry, and of course, networking.
The classic trifecta.
Right. Seems pretty standard, like most other industries out there. But I'm sensing a but coming here.
Well, things aren't always so simple, especially in niche fields like cleaning and restoration.
Okay, spill the tea. What makes these associations different?
One word. Resources, or rather, the lack thereof.
Ah, the ever-present budget constraints.
Exactly. Smaller associations especially often struggle to make a real impact because they're working with a limited pool of members, which usually means a smaller budget.
So it's not always a level playing field in terms of what these groups can actually achieve.
Right. And then there's the human element.
Ah, yes, because where there are people, there's always.
The potential for things to get a little complicated.
I think we all know what you mean.
It's not always intentional, but personal agendas can sometimes creep in and influence the direction of an organization.
That's just human nature, right?
Exactly. And then, to make things even more interesting, you have this issue of fragmentation in the cleaning and restoration world.
Fragmentation.
Think about it. Dozens of different associations all vying for attention, each with their own set of standards, their own certifications, maybe even their own definitions for basic industry terms.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for confusion.
It definitely can be, both for people new to the industry and even seasoned professionals.
So how do you cut through all that noise and figure out which association is right for you?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where choosing the right association becomes even more critical. You've really got to find that beacon of clarity amidst a sea of conflicting information. And speaking of beacons of
We're
clarity,
talking about Carsey, right?
the Cleaning and Restoration Science Institute, that's the one.
Yeah, they kept popping up in our research as a bit of a standout in the industry.
And for good reason, too. They've got a unique approach that really sets them apart.
All right, tell me more. What's the Cartesi secret sauce?
In a word, impartiality. They're not out there pushing a specific product, service, or agenda. Their main focus is on science-backed practices and research-driven education.
So they're kind of like the mythbusters of cleaning and restoration.
That's a great way to put it. Always testing assumptions, looking at the data, and relying on evidence over hype.
I like it. But how does that translate into actual benefits for their members?
It all boils down to trust. When you align yourself with Carsey, you're getting access to information and training you can rely on. You don't have to worry about someone trying to sell you something. It's all about providing you with the knowledge and practices that have been vetted by science.
That's huge, especially in an industry that can feel a bit like a minefield of marketing jargon sometimes.
Absolutely. And this whole science-first approach, it doesn't stop at information. It really influences their whole approach to education, too.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Their training programs, they're designed with real-world application in mind.
So it's not just about passing an exam or memorizing a bunch of theory.
Definitely not. Carsey, it's one thing to know the textbook stuff, but actually being able to handle real-life situations on the job, that's where the rubber meets the road.
So no dusty old textbooks or anything?
They're giving you the tools and the confidence to not just talk the talk, but to walk the walk.
I like it. Practical skills, that's what it's all about.
And here's the thing, with Carsey, it's not static. They're constantly updating.
Updating, like their curriculum,
Curriculum, resources, you name it.
always staying up to date,
Because the industry changes fast and they want their members to be ahead of the curve.
which makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits of joining an association in general. Our sources broke it down into 4 main points.
Right.
First up, enhanced credibility.
So important in this day and age.
It really is.
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean for someone listening who's thinking, okay, but why do I care?
Think about it this way. When you've got a certification from a reputable organization, it's like a signal. It tells potential clients you're serious about your craft.
That you're not just some fly-by-night operator.
You got the knowledge, you've got the skills, and you've met a certain standard.
It's like that extra layer of reassurance, right?
Exactly, like a stamp of approval. And in a field where trust is paramount, that credibility can make or break you.
Totally. And speaking of knowledge, that's the next big benefit our sources highlighted, right? These associations, they often give you access to a treasure trove of resources. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
It's like having a backstage pass to a whole world of industry knowledge. We're talking case studies, white papers, the latest research, updates on regulations, you name it, they've got it.
Wow, okay, so it's like a one-stop shop for staying informed.
Exactly. No more trawling through endless online forums or trying to piece together information from unreliable sources. You've got it all right there.
That's huge, especially for busy professionals who don't have a ton of time to waste.
Time is money, right? And this is where that commitment to research we see with groups like CARSI really pays off.
Because they're not just giving you any old information, they're curating it, making sure it's high quality and actually relevant.
Absolutely. They're doing the legwork for you so you can focus on what you do best.
I like the sound of that. Okay, so we've got credibility, we've got knowledge. What's next?
Let's talk advocacy. This one's a bit less tangible, maybe, but incredibly powerful.
Advocacy. So we're talking about using that collective voice to make a difference on issues that impact the entire industry.
Exactly, because let's face it, one voice alone can easily get lost in the crowd.
Right. But when an entire industry comes together with a unified message, that's when people start to listen.
It's about having a seat at the table when decisions are being made that affect your livelihood, your business, your future. Whether it's about licensing requirements, safety regulations, or even just raising public awareness about the importance of the work we do.
It's easy to feel like your individual voice doesn't matter, but collective action, that's where the real power lies.
Couldn't agree more. But it's worth noting, not all associations are created equal in this department.
What do you mean?
Some are definitely more effective than others when it comes to advocacy.
So how can our listeners tell the difference? What should they be looking for?
Do your homework. Don't just take their word for it. Look at their track record.
So look for concrete evidence of their advocacy wins.
Precisely. Have they successfully lobbied for changes in legislation? Do they have dedicated resources and staff focused on advocacy work? Actions speak louder than words, as they say.
That's a really good point. All right, we've got one more benefit to cover. Networking.
Ah, yes, the age-old adage. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
True that. And in an industry like cleaning and restoration, where word-of-mouth referrals are so important, having a strong network can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Those connections can open doors to new opportunities, partnerships, even mentorships that you might never have found otherwise.
And those connections, they go beyond just business, right?
Totally. It's about building relationships with people who get it.
People who understand the unique challenges you face every day.
People who can offer support, advice, maybe even just a sympathetic ear when you're having a tough day.
Because, let's be real, every job has its tough days. And having that network of colleagues who've been there, done that, it can make all the difference.
1,000,000%.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential upsides, but we got to be real with our listeners about the potential downsides, too.
Right, because no decision is without its risks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges our listeners should be aware of when considering joining an association?
Well, we've got to address the elephant in the room, that whole fragmentation issue we talked about earlier.
Ah, yes, the fragmentation. With so many different associations out there, it can be tough to know where to start, who to trust, who actually aligns with your values.
Exactly. It can be overwhelming, especially if you're new to the industry. It's like trying to assemble a piece of furniture with 5 different instruction manuals, confusing and frustrating.
That's a perfect analogy.
So that's where that commitment to impartiality and those evidence-based practices we see with groups like CARSI, that's where it gets really valuable. It's like having a compass to guide you through that confusing landscape.
I like that. A compass for the industry.
Right. It's about finding those sources you can trust, those organizations that prioritize clarity over confusion.
That makes sense. So conflicting information, that's
Right.
one challenge. What else?
Well, even with the best intentions, all associations, they face challenges, and a big one, funding.
Ah, yes, the ever-present budget constraints.
Unfortunately, it's a reality, and it can impact everything an association does.
From the quality of their training programs to their ability to advocate effectively for their members.
Absolutely. So it's all about transparency.
Transparency.
Yeah, look for organizations that are upfront about their finances, their priorities, how they're using their resources to benefit their members.
So don't be afraid to ask the tough question.
Exactly. How much are the membership dues? Where does that money go? What can I expect in return?
It's your investment. You've got to make sure it makes sense for you. Okay, conflicting information, funding challenges. What else should our listeners keep in mind?
This one's a little trickier to spot, but it's about leadership.
You're talking about those personal agendas we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Look, passionate leaders, they can be incredible. They drive change, they inspire people, but it's about balance.
Balance between passion and objectivity.
That's it. You want leaders who are open to different perspectives, who listen to their members, who prioritize the needs of the entire group over their personal agendas.
That makes sense. But how can our listeners really get a feel for an association's leadership? I mean, it's not like that information is always readily available.
That's where you've got to dig a little deeper. Look at their board of directors. Is it diverse? Do they have a transparent decision-making process? Are they open to feedback from their members?
So it's about being an active and informed member, not just a name on a roster.
Exactly. If an association seems resistant to feedback, overly secretive, those are red flags.
Duly noted. Okay, so we've got conflicting information, funding, leadership. Anything else we should add to the list?
This one might seem a little cynical, but
Please, go for it. I'm all ears.
just be mindful of how associations generate revenue.
Because events, sponsorships, those things can be great.
They can, but they can also become the primary focus, sometimes at the expense of actually serving the members.
Oh, I see. So it's about finding that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Where they're generating enough revenue to sustain themselves, but not losing sight of their core mission.
Exactly. Are they reinvesting those profits back into member services, better training programs, more effective advocacy, or are they more focused on throwing lavish parties?
So it's about being a discerning consumer, essentially. Looking beyond the flashy marketing and asking, what am I really getting for my money? Is this association truly invested in my success?
That's the question. And it applies to more than just finances. It's about asking, is this association keeping up with the times?
Because what was considered cutting edge a few years ago might be completely outdated today.
Especially in a field like this, new technologies, new research, new best practices, it's constantly evolving.
So how can our listeners tell if an association is committed to staying ahead of the curve?
Look at their approach to R&D research and development.
Are they investing in new studies, partnering with universities, pushing the boundaries of what we know about cleaning and restoration?
Exactly. They need to be actively pushing the industry forward, not just resting on their laurels. And their educational programs, those need to be keeping pace too.
Constantly updated with the latest advancements, new technologies, methodologies.
It's about asking yourself, is this association still relevant? Are they preparing me for the future of this industry, or are they stuck in the past?
That's a great question to ask.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you want to align yourself with an organization that's forward-thinking, that's embracing innovation, that's helping you thrive in a world that's constantly changing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, folks, there you have it. We've explored the benefits, we've unpacked the challenges, we've even dared to dream a little about a more unified, evidence-based future for the cleaning and restoration industry. It's been a journey.
And we've just scratched the surface.
But as you continue your own exploration, remember this. You're not just choosing an association to join, you're choosing how you want to participate in shaping the future of this entire field. So ask the tough questions, demand transparency, push for greater collaboration, a stronger reliance on science-backed practices, and never stop learning. Until next time, keep up the fantastic work, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.